Good morning, freshmen. I apologize that I can't be here with you today to go through this live, but today is the day we are going to get started in vocab.com. So if you aren't yet in Canvas, go ahead and navigate to my class Canvas page. And then remember, if you go underneath the useful links, let me go here on my iPad, and you go down under useful links and click on weekly agenda. It is going to take you to page 1, or week 1, week 2. Of course, we're in week 2 now, and that's how we get here. Okay, so we are looking under Monday. Your due now is to get started by joining vocab.com. So I'm going to ask you to click on the appropriate link depending on whether you're in my first hour or my third hour. Since I've already signed up with first hour once, I'm going to go ahead and click the third hour link, and it's going to take you into vocab.com. Now, since I've already signed up for vocab.com in the past, it took me right into the class. However, most likely for most of you freshmen, maybe all of you freshmen, it's going to prompt you to sign up. So you're going to sign up for vocab.com using your normal school username and PCSC password. I will ask you to refrain from any nicknames. That way I can, when I'm grading, give points to the appropriate people. So make sure that you are using your actual name as it appears in PowerSchool, please. Okay, now once you're signed in, it should tell you, just like it told me a little bit ago, that you have joined the class. And it should say on the screen, first hour English 9 or third hour English 9, depending on which link you clicked. Again, make sure that you're joining the right hour. Okay, now something that pops up, and I believe it already popped up for me earlier because I was in here earlier, but a box should pop up in the top right corner to tell you that you've got an assignment. Okay, and if you don't have a box like I don't, I do notice in the top right corner these 3 little lines with a 6 on them. That tells me I've got 6 assignments, and honestly that's just because I'm in 6 different English courses, but you guys just have the one assignment that should show up. So one way to get to that assignment, if you don't have a little prompt box like I didn't, you're just going to click where the 6th circle is, right there. Right there are my assignments, and of course you guys only have the one, English 9 for marigolds. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that English 9 for marigolds, and it's going to take me right into the practice. Well, hold up, wait a minute. This is the first time we've seen this list. I don't necessarily want to jump straight into the practice. So what I'm going to do instead, and this is typically what we do together every Monday live, I'm going to go to the toolbar at the bottom. So some things you notice in the toolbar off on the bottom left, it tells me what list I'm currently practicing. That's important, because sometimes when you sign out and then come back in, you might accidentally click on a different list. And you want to make sure that you're putting your practice time into whatever the list is for the week, which this week it's our list called Marigold. So that's good. At least I know I'm practicing the right list. Off on the right, it says I have 2 options. I can return to the list or I can start over. Well, I certainly don't want to start over. I'm going to return to the main list here. Okay. Whenever we start each Monday with our new vocab list, one thing that I like to do is to talk over the words on the list, point out some different features about the words, and give you some memory clues to help you remember what the different words mean. So let's take a look at our vocab list this week on marigolds. First word is abstract, and it tells us that something that's abstract exists only in the mind. Now, I'm going to highly recommend that before you ever start a practice, you don't just read over the words and definitions, but actually take it one step further and you want to click on the word. Because you will notice that for each of these words, you're going to get a much more detailed definition, sometimes some great examples, sometimes even funny examples that they'll give you to help you remember what this word means. And here they're telling us it's an adjective, okay, so it's a describing word. Abstract describes something that's not material, or something that's very general, something that's not specific, right? So that's helpful to have this here, and they go into even more of a definition description as you read on. They talk about how abstract can describe ideas, anything that doesn't have clear applicability to real life. It can describe art because it doesn't really look like anything in particular. Think about Picasso and abstract art, right? But not only that, as you scroll down, sometimes words are going to have more than one definition. And you have to realize in vocab.com, they're going to expect you to know all the different meanings of a word. That's why you'll find that some words you can master in 4 questions. Others take a lot longer because they have many more definitions. So what I see here is, man, look at all these synonyms. I mean, abstract is something that's conceptual, something that's ideal, something that's ideological, something that's non-representational, impalpable, intangible. So having synonyms gives you a fuller picture of what the word means. They even give you an antonym here. If something's intangible, I can't touch it. Well, what's the opposite of something I can't touch? Something I can, something that's concrete. As you scroll down, sometimes you'll find that not only can a word be one part of speech, but look, abstract can also be a verb. If you're abstracting something, what are you doing? You're considering it, you're looking at it, you're reckoning or regarding it. So we're getting an idea that not only can it describe things, it can be a verb, something you can do, or it can be a thing. An abstract can be a concept, an outline, a synopsis. These are all great synonyms depending on which form of abstract we're talking about. So you can see there's quite a few definitions for this first word, and I'm going to guess this will be the word that I probably have to spend the longest on in vocab.com to master. So if I hit the back arrow, it takes me back to my list. Let's look at the other words we got going on here. Number 2, amorphous. Amorphous meaning having no definite form or distinct shape. This is helpful here if you know things about prefixes and word roots, which by the end of the semester you will know more. That's the next thing we'll be talking about. I know this word morph. Morph means to change. Just like butterflies going through a metamorphosis, right? They go through a change. So morph means change, and a as a prefix means not. So not having any change, not having any shape, something that's amorphous. Okay, not having a distinct form or shape. And again, I can click on amorphous here, click on it on my iPad. I can scroll down and, oh, look, they even give me an example. The moon's amorphous reflection on a lake, not having clear edges, not having a clear shape. Again, talking about art can be described as something amorphous, not having clear form or shape. They give me some good synonyms: shapeless, formless, unformed, uncrystallized, unstructured. So writing can even be amorphous if it doesn't have any structure. Kind of the opposite of what we want our writing to have, right? We don't want to write amorphously. Number 3, you got the word arid. Arid, lacking sufficient water or rainfall. I tend to think of things like deserts as being described as arid. The weather can be called arid, temperature. Number 4, bravado, having a swaggering show of courage. I tend to think of bravado being like those characters in horror movies where, they know the killer's just outside, but they're acting all mighty and tough and unafraid until, the killer makes an appearance and then they run away screaming like little girls, right? So bravado, that false show of courage. Futile, producing no result or effect. Something that's futile, for example, they tell you here, hopefully all the time you're spending studying vocab.com won't turn out to be futile. Futile, having little results, right? Ineffectual, useless. Here's some great word synonyms for you. Bootless, fruitless, vain, all great synonyms for something that you try and just can't seem to have any results from. Futile. I know for me, when it came to trying to grow vegetables, I've tried multiple times. My efforts are always futile. I never seem to get a single tomato on those tomato plants, and I'm not sure why, except maybe that's just not my skill in life. Lure, number 6. This kind of lure, we're doing it as a verb, not a thing, like a fishing lure. That'd be the noun form. But as a verb, if you are luring someone or something, you're trying to provoke them to do something through persuasion. So we can give an example that maybe you lure your younger siblings into doing all your chores for you. What would you use to lure them? Maybe a piece of candy, promise to buy them something, promise to play with them. Those are all examples of luring someone to do something. Number 7, malicious, having the nature of threatening evil. Again, this is where word roots can really come in handy. If you know that this root mal, M-A-L, you Spanish speakers have a little bit of an advantage here. Mal in Spanish means bad, right? So anytime you see mal in a word, like malicious or malignant or malign, it has something to do with something bad happening. Here, anything that's described as malicious, it's threatening some kind of evil. Someone who's malicious, they give you in the example here, enjoys hurting or embarrassing others. And it says if you're writing a book about good and evil, you want to come up with a truly malicious character to do all the bad stuff. We can get some good synonyms here: malicious, despiteful, vindictive, malevolent. Look, another mal word. Mal means bad. So they give you a lot of good synonyms there that you could refer to instead of malicious. All right, going back to the list. Number 8, nostalgia. Nostalgia is longing for something, something from long ago, longing for your past, wistfully remembering. They give an example here about a grandfather who sits around talking about the good old days, telling you stories of his childhood. He's waxing nostalgic. Nostalgic's the adjective form of nostalgia. Usually we're nostalgic about things that were good memories, though, not necessarily something bad that happened to us. All right, next word on the list, number 9, ostensibly. Ostensibly means the way that something appears. Not necessarily what is really true, but just the excuse we use to get away with something or do something. And they give a pretty good example here when you click on the word ostensibly. In the smaller print down below, it says one day you go to an ice cream shop, then the next day, and then the next. You keep going ostensibly to buy ice cream. So it seems like the reason you keep going again and again is, a good excuse anyway, is you want to buy ice cream. Ostensibly, that's the reason. But perhaps there's a deeper reason, maybe the cute person who works behind the counter. That's the idea of ostensibly, the assumed reason, right? And they give some synonyms here. Apparently, the apparent reason, the seeming reason, even though we know that may not be the true reason, right? It's just ostensible from the appearances. Number 10, ramshackle, something that's broken down or in poor condition. They give you the example here. If your roof leaks, if your house is tumbling down, if it's in terrible condition, it's ramshackle. It's barely holding together. Number 11, stupor, marginally conscious. My first hour kids are more familiar with this than my third hour. Yes, it's that kind of state of, I'm here, Mrs. Schemenauer, but I'm just not quite awake yet. I'm in a bit of a stupor. And by the way, it's not just sleepiness that can make you be in a stupor. It could be a medical stupor. Maybe you're not feeling well, or humidity. It tells you here extreme heat and humidity can cause someone to be in a stupor. Alcohol, any kind of medical issue. Anytime that someone is just not quite with it yet. Right, first hour, we're kind of in a little bit of a stupor, especially on a Monday, I'm sure. Last word on your list for the week, number 12, is vigor. When you see the word vigor, you'll notice a lot of times that VIG has to do with energy and life and liveliness and exertion and energy. I think I said that twice. But clicking on the word here, great example. If your new puppy runs all over the house, jumps on furniture, chews up socks, he's got a lot of vigor. Or as they used to say, an old expression, he has a lot of vim and vigor. So we tend to, on Mondays, introduce the new vocab list. They're always tied to some piece of literature that we'll be reading later in the week. In this case, it'll be the story Marigolds, which will appear in our first unit in Study Sync. So that's where you'll see these words in your reading. But you might be wondering at this point, okay, I've looked at the words, now what? Okay. I'm not quizzing you on these words Friday. That'll come in 2 weeks. A week from Friday, we'll have a quiz over the words. But for now, you'll have to get 10 points in this vocab list by Friday for a score. How do you get your points? Well, underneath this practice box here, your button probably says start practice. I started a little bit ago, which is why mine says to resume practice, but you're going to click that start practice button. And this is typically what your practices are going to look like. Sometimes they're straight up, here's a word, what's the definition? Sometimes, like this one, it's going to give me a sentence, and I have to figure out which one of these words goes best in the blank. But let me just give you one tip that can be helpful when you're working on your iPad with vocab. So I can try to remember what all these different words mean. Or what I can actually do is I can go up to the top, and if I hold down on these 2 square boxes up in the top, don't tap it, but hold it down, and then click Open New Window, it's going to give me a split screen. I can then go back to my vocab.com list, which if I'm trying to find the list again, if I go to those 3 little lines and I go under assignments and activities, okay, there's my list, okay? And then I can hit at the bottom those 3 little lines that take me back to my list, Marigolds. I can actually, while I'm practicing, have the list of words up here in front of me so I can figure out, okay, where's the answer at before I click it. You get more points when you click the right answer over here in vocab.com on the left. You're actually playing for points. I don't know if you noticed, I'm at like 2.2 million points up here. As you join my class, it's putting you in a ranking with all your other classmates. And so your goal It's to learn vocab, yes, but you're also trying to get more points than all your other classmates because we'll be making this a little bit of a competition by the end of the week here. So I'm going to encourage you, don't just randomly point, click, and just try to get it done. One, you're not going to get as many points, and two, you're not really learning the words, okay? And it does take a lot longer. So if you take the time to actually, okay, I'm going to get the right answer. What's the right answer here? Little Ona, she's nearly faint, or nearly ready to faint, and half in a something herself because of the heavy scent in the room. What is she in? Well, if she's about to faint, there's a heavy scent in the room. I'm going to take a guess here. I think it's stupor. Okay, and it told me at the bottom there that I am correct. Stupor is a noun that means marginally conscious. And then you'll notice here, this is the arrow I click for the next screen. So I'm going to click that arrow there. If you miss the word, it's always a good idea to read this little summary here before going on because you don't want to miss it again. The more you miss the word, the more they make you practice it before you master it. Now I can tell from this down here that I just mastered the word. It goes gold when you master it. Okay? If it's not mastered yet, it'll tell you how much more you have to go. So I'm going to keep going and see what's my next word. Malicious. Remember mal? Mal means bad. But if I don't remember, it's right here. Having the nature of threatening evil. Boom. It's right there. Clicking it there with this button here. And then I'm going to click my next button right here. There's my summary if I needed it. Bravado. What does bravado mean? Let's see. I'm going to go back over here. There it is. Bravado. Swaggering show of courage. So it is totally fine, by the way, to use this list next to you to help you out. I do not consider that cheating. Guys, essentially, we're trying to learn these words. We're using this list to study so that we can do better as we practice. Now, if you get stuck, this is something I don't always point out to all my classes, but I want to make sure you know, you can get a hint. Now, choosing a hint means you don't get as many points, but let's say I couldn't quite remember what bravado means. I can hit the, okay, give me a 50-50, I don't know. And it's going to take out two of my options and narrow it down so I can make sure I get the right option. Swaggering show of courage. Okay? So, I am going to go back to this main screen here for you. You're just going to keep practicing like we've been doing here until you get all the way to the end where it tells you, hey, guess what? You're done. Your practice is 100% complete. However, let me point out one thing. I could probably, right here it's telling me I'm 27% of the way done. I've now mastered one word on my list. I got a ways to go. It typically will take you anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes if you're not missing every single word. If you miss every single word, I've had students tell me, especially freshmen, that it's taken them an hour and a half to finish a vocab list that honestly should not take you more than half an hour. But they probably weren't studying the words before they started. They probably missed a lot, and that's why it took them so long. So again, I highly recommend the split screen. But let me come back to this main list here. I hit the button that said return to list. On Friday, how do you know if you've gotten your points? Okay. Traditionally, if we were in class, I would have you pull up this screen on Friday. I'd have you scroll down and see. You can see how far I have to go. I've got 14% on this word done, 25% on that word. That means about 3 more questions. 14% done on arid, and as I go down, hey look, I've got 1 point here, lure. I've got 1 point here, stupor. If this were all I did and I stopped and showed this to my teacher Friday, my score would be a whopping 2 out of 10 points. Because that's how you get your points. These gold circles right here is a point. On Friday, I'm taking a score out of 10. Now wait a minute, there's 12 words on this list. So what does that mean for you if you master the entire list? You can get 2 bonus points simply from mastering all the words on this list. And you can see toward the bottom here, some of them, that's just 3 more questions. If I get 3 more questions and I get them right, those words will all be mastered. Now, if I'm back on this page and I want to keep practicing, try to get up to 100% mastery, I would just again hit resume practice right there. But I will tell you this, at some point in your practice, vocab.com is going to tell you, okay, you're done. You mastered your practice, you're finished. But say that tells me I'm finished and I go back to my list and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I only have like 6 gold circles. I don't want a 6 out of 10, I want more circles to be gold. Guys, you can always just hit the button that says start practice over. When you hit the start practice over button again, it's going to let you continue practicing the list until you have all the gold circles that you want for the score for the week. Okay? So remember, there's 12 words. At least 10 of them you want to master if you want to get your 10 out of 10 score on Friday. Now, with us being virtual, I won't be able to check on Friday by having you just show me your screen. Okay, so instead what you're going to want to do is you're actually going to want to do a screenshot. And let me point something out with a different list. This is a list, I believe this is a list, yes, that I have mastered. This is our one of our word root lists, actually the one for this week, one of the two that you'll be looking at in just a minute. But let's just pretend that this is the list I want to turn in on Friday. I've got till 3:15. Okay, if it's emailed after 3:15 into the school day, the list is late. Please keep that deadline in mind, 3:15 on Friday. And actually, I probably have to adjust that now with early release Friday. I think we get released at 2:45, so you'll have till 2:45 on Friday to turn this in before it's considered late. Okay, so what do I need to screenshot? Because obviously this is a really long list and that would take a whole bunch of screenshots. But if you have every single word mastered on the list, what you're going to notice is this circle right here, where it says list mastery. If every word on the list is mastered, this is gold. And if that's all you need, if you have mastered your whole list, this is the only page I need. It has the 3 things I need on it. Number 1, I need to be able to see that your name is on this list. That's how I make sure it's your list, not another student's. Second, I need to be able to see the list mastery, and if the whole list is mastered, that gold circle right there. Okay? Third thing I need to be able to see is at least the first word on the list. If I can see the first word and I see the first word's mastered, then I know, okay, 1, it's the right person, 2, they have mastered all their words, and 3, this is the right list that they were turning in. Now, as far as turning it in, this is something that you will be emailing that screenshot to me of, but I am asking you as the title of the email, please don't miss this because I get a lot of email from a lot of people. Please make sure that you title your email whatever the title of the list is. Okay, so if I were turning this list in on Friday, I would call the email PHS English 9 word root number 1 auto. And this, by the way, is one of our bonus lists. So if I'm also turning in marigolds at the same time, let me go back to marigolds, then when I take this screenshot, notice that this one, there's the list mastery, and nope, didn't master this list. I can't just shoot this screen. I would have to take a screenshot of the entire list. That'd be 1, there's my second screenshot, there's my third screenshot. That would be all I would need. I would need 3 screenshots to fit this whole list in. But I would have to do that because notice up here, this list was not mastered. So I can't just send the one screen because I need to see which words did they master, which words they didn't, and then total up how many points. And this poor person's only getting a 2 out of 10 this week because Ms. Schemenauer didn't finish her list yet. Okay? Again, when I send it in, however many points I got, this is the title of my email, PHS English 9 Marigolds. Okay? Now you're only having to email me vocab list while we're virtually learning. So those of you who are virtually learning for the rest of the quarter, this is the process you'll use. Those of us coming back in person, you'll be showing me your vocab list in class on Friday. Okay. I hope that's fairly clear. If you have any questions, just be jotting them down somewhere, and then when we meet live tomorrow, I'll be able to address any questions that you have. One last thing I want to point out to you as we go back to Canvas here, when you go under that Home tab, you might remember that, yes, I've got a whole vocab chart here. There's our list that we just looked at, marigolds. That's the URL if for any reason you ever need it. But on top of learning one vocab list each week, Monday to Friday, that ties into our reading, we're also working on 2 word roots each week. Word roots are actually way more important than I think we give them credit for. These word parts, when you start knowing what the parts of the word mean, then you can look at a word you don't know and figure it out based on the part. Okay, so we know this word auto, this part, word root auto, means self, and fort or force means strong. So if we were in a live class, what I typically do is I'll say, okay, take a minute on a piece of paper, write down 2 words that have the root auto in it, and 2 words that have either fort or force in it. Okay, see if you can think of some right now. What are some words that have auto in them? What are some words that have fort or force in them? Okay, so what I would traditionally do then is have you share out your examples. I know for me, I thought of autograph, okay, which auto means self, graph means write. It's something I write myself, my autograph, my signature. For fort and force, I thought of the word fortress, right? You know, fortress is a building, something that like people can run into, that's strong, that's protected, where they're safe. It's a very strong kind of Palisade, right? And then off to the side, you're going to notice that I've got these two links, one next to auto and one next to force. So I'm going to take a second just to copy that link and into a new search engine. I'm going to paste it. And what I want you to realize is that for each of these word roots, there's also an associated list, a vocabulary list that you can do. Now this is bonus. Let me clarify, you do not have to master these word root lists. You do need to know that auto means self and fort and force means strong. But if you choose to go through, and it looks like this is one that I did master, if you choose to go through and master these additional lists, if you complete the entire list like I did here and you were up at the top like this and take that screenshot and send that in, you would get an additional bonus point on the week. So let's say you mastered your whole marigolds list. That's a 12 out of 10 because you did the 2 extra words. And then you master the fort and force list. Now you're up to 13 out of 10. Let's say you even go and you master the entire auto list. I think I did. Yep. Master the entire auto list here. There's my name. There's the mastery. Right there. There's the first word. Now I'm up to 14 points out of 10 for the week. You can see that it's great. It's a great way to stack up some bonus points on your score each and every week, okay? So going back to that home page, I want you to realize, yes, we've got a basic list, and this is required for everybody. At least 10 words you want to master every week because it's a score out of 10. 2 bonus points are already built in. You've got another 2 bonus points that you can earn if you choose to do those additional lists, and of course, it'll also get you more points for the class competition. So usually people who do those lists tend to do better in the class competition. And then, what? Wait, there's still more. There's even more bonus lists right here. Now that we know that the I-STEP is no longer the way that students are going to be state tested, it's starting to look like the SAT test will be the new state test starting their junior year. We want to get you ready for it. And a large portion of being prepared for the English side of the SAT is being really familiar with some of these different words that come up in some of the passages you'll have to read. So hey, look at this. You'll notice that there are 2 more links. Again, you can simply copy and paste, and I think I did this earlier. Yep, copy, paste it, and open it up. Here's one example of an SAT prep words list. Some really great words: acerbic, averse, bellicose, didactic. Great words on this list that are likely to come up in an SAT situation. And hey, if you want even more bonus for each one of these SAT prep words, if you get the entire list mastered, again, I have to see your name, list mastery with that 100% circle and at least the first word, that's another bonus point you get for each of these SAT prep lists. So, to summarize, you've got your main list, which is already dropped in automatically when you joined my class today. You should already see it prompting you, hey, do this list. It's the only list that you get prompted to do because it's the only required list. Everything else is bonus. And we've got our chart with our 2 word roots that we will have 2 word roots each and every week. We get quizzed on these as well as the words every other week. There's your 2 more bonus points, 1 point here, 1 point here. We're up to 14 out of 10. And then you've got your SAT prep bonus list, 1 here, 1 here, for a possible 16 out of 10 bonus points. If you choose to do all that extra work, you'll get 6 extra bonus points every single week. A great way to start yourself off on a very solid foot, point-wise, in English 9. All right, guys, I know I've thrown a lot at you. There's only one more thing I want to check in with you, and it has to do with homework. Over the weekend, I went to see who had turned in what was still missing, and so you'll notice for homework, yes, we're going to have vocab.com on there every single day. Just as a reminder, hey, make sure you're practicing your vocab. You got till Friday to master as many points as you're trying to collect. Minimum's 10 points. But I also want to point out that there were a number of you who are still working on that first discussion, that welcome back discussion. It's considered late after 5 o'clock on Friday, so it's now late, but that discussion will only stay open until this coming Friday. I leave all my assignments open for a week. After a week passes, it locks and that opportunity is lost. So remember, this was a discussion where I asked you to talk to me about your COVID experience. Was it the good? Was it the bad? Was it the ugly? And you were writing 1 short paragraph, about 5 sentences minimum, about that experience. And there was a sample in there for you. So I did want to clarify and show on my list here, I'm coming back here, there is a cheat sheet, by the way. in the weekly agenda if you wanted some tips or you wanted to see a summary of what we talked about today for vocab.com. But I want to pull up the list of students that might still be missing the questionnaire, this one right here. Okay? If your name is showing up here first hour, third hour, that means as of Saturday morning when I was checking to see who had turned in the discussion and who was late. Currently, your discussion is late, so I am asking you to make sure that you finish that paragraph, that benchmark I need to look at, and turn that into Canvas. Email me if you're having any problems accessing the discussion or turning it in. I can help you. But don't forget, you're not just turning in your discussion, you're also commenting, reading over and commenting on at least 2 other students' submissions. So give them some feedback. Tell them what you liked about their writing or what they could work on or what caught your attention. Okay, so leave some feedback, and that will be something that I grade as well. Not only that you have submitted, but that you have remembered to leave feedback on 2 other students' essays. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns, I'll be back with you on Tuesday. And I do look forward to seeing you in a sort of normal classroom when we have our virtual class tomorrow. So I'll see you then.